Hey guys, here I have two Xeon CPUs. So these processors these are both identical, and these are Xeon E5-2620 version 2 or V2. So that's the E5-2620 V2. So yeah, two identical Xeon processors, and I pulled these out of a server that was literally these are pretty old, that they're relatively old CPUs, and I literally pulled these out of these came out in 20 quarter three of 2013, and I literally pulled these out of a server that was thrown out in the garbage. So I was going to buy it, and I figured I'd recover the CPUs from that because I figured they might be useful for something, or they're, if nothing else, just kind of interesting to have as a paperweight. But if I could use these in some sort of project, that might be nice. Anyways, I figured I'd pick these up, and I actually kind of regret not grabbing the system board, because then I'd have something that I could actually put these in and build an actual project with it. I wasn't going to grab the whole server because it's kind of heavy, and I just did not, it's not something I could do. Couldn't grab the whole thing and clean it up. So I just grabbed the CPUs. But yeah, kind of wish I had the time to grab the system board and stuff. But you can actually pick up system boards for these on eBay for relatively cheap these days. So I'm recording this in April of 2025. These came out in 2013, so they're really old, but still relatively powerful for how old they are. And you can buy these CPUs. They were expensive at the time. You can buy these for very cheap on eBay now. And also, a dual CPU system board, you can pick those up on eBay for relatively cheap. Also, not as cheap as free, and not as easy as already having the board, but still. Anyways, each CPU here, this one's cleaned up a little bit better than this. I'll have to clean some of that leftover thermal paste off of it. But yeah, so each CPU has 6 cores and 12 threads. They have hyper-threading, so 2 threads per core, and yeah, so 6 cores, 12 threads, right? The base clock rate is 2.1 gigahertz, and it has turbo up to 2.6 gigahertz. And the cache is, whoops, there goes my camera. Yeah, so let me see if I can zoom in on the label on this CPU so you can actually see it. There's not much point. Yeah, just the way the light is shining off of it, I can't get a good view of it. But anyways, yeah, let's look at the bottom. So yeah, this is what they look like from each side. Anyways, the cache is 15 megs L3 cache, a lot more than the old i5 CPU that I just reviewed in the previous video. That was like 6 megs shared cache between all the cores. This one's 15 megs. So that's between an i5 consumer grade CPU and a Xeon, you get quite a bit more in your L3 cache, right? So other thing, TDP is 80 watts, which is slightly more than the consumer grade CPU I was just looking at before this one. And this is going to be a socket LGA 2011. And memory supported is going to be DDR3, ECC registered, or UD or a UDIM, right? Also, another interesting thing about this, PCI lanes, 40. So that's what you get in the server workstation world, 40 PCI lanes. Typically, from what I see, like with an i5, i7, i3, all of those, with those core processors, you're going to get 16 PCI lanes, and you got to share them between all your devices. With this, you're getting 40 PCI lanes. So that this is what's different in the server world. Anyways, chipset support. It's gonna support server workstation chipsets such as basically the C600 series and X79. So if you're looking for a chipset or a motherboard that supports these, look for those. Make sure you're probably going to want to shoot for like C600 or X79, and just make sure you get your LGA 2011. I may pick up a motherboard and build a project out of these. I'll see how that goes. I think that would be kind of interesting. So max DIMMs per CPU, you have up to 12 slots on a higher end server board. So you could have 12 DIMM slots per CPU, right? And let's see a little bit more on the memory. So supporting, so we mentioned it, but only a little bit. So a little more on the memory is it supports DDR3. That's going to be like 800, 1066, 1333, and 1600. and that those are the officially supported memory speeds. And let's see, quad. So this is quad channel. That's another interesting thing that sets this apart from. And I should be talking about it by itself, not specifically comparing this. I think it's interesting to compare these two desktop CPUs. But usually, like a desktop CPU is going to support two channel or dual channel RAM. Um, yeah, this actually supports quad channel RAM, which is kind of neat. So you can access four DIMMs simultaneously. Now the max memory supported with this is 256. Of course, depending on the motherboard. Now, again, got to compare this to a consumer grade CPU. We were just looking at an i5 from a similar era. Um, the i5 we were looking at only supported up to 32 gigs of RAM. This thing supports 256, right? 256 gigs of RAM. So quite a bit more. So it's kind of interesting. These are actually larger physically than the other CPU I was looking at recently. And I almost feel like I'm going to bring the other CPU in here because I just happen to have it off to the side. So yeah, this was the i5 that I just did a video on this just before this, so I kind of set this CPU to the side before I recorded this video about the Xeons. So this is an i5. This is a i5-3330, and it was onboard GPU and stuff. And this is the Xeon E5-2620 V2. So you can see the size difference there, and so they're a different socket, right? And yeah, just interesting to compare there. And I think that's all I really wanted to talk about. That's basically everything I wanted to go over with these. Just kind of wanted to share this with you today, and try not to shake the camera there too much. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about these Xeon CPUs. Maybe hopefully I'll get to do a project with these coming up, do a build with these. I'm going to be using the i5 for a build, but it'd be nice if I could use these for a build as well, and do just some kind of project. I don't have a practical use for them at the moment, but if I could do some sort of home lab project or something, that would be kind of neat, and I'd like to do a video on that, but we'll see how that goes. Anyways, we do a lot of great tech content, do a lot of yeah, you're going to want to stay tuned for that. And, we do a lot, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon, because you're not going to want to miss out. We do a lot of, we do hardware, software, programming, coding, server hardware, desktop hardware, Apple, PC, we do operating systems, Linux, Windows, we do servers, networking. We do all sorts of great tech stuff you're not going to want to miss out on. We do Raspberry Pis, robots, electronics, 3D printing, all that great stuff. So if you want that kind of stuff in your YouTube feed, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you actually get notified when we come out with new videos. And, give me a thumbs up if you want, but also leave a comment down below if you have any experience with these CPUs or something similar. What's the oldest CPU you've used? What's the oldest CPU you currently have running? Leave a comment down below and let us know. But that's about it for today. So as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys on that next video.